questions here, but until we have a line and staff arrangement fully functioning, that's the problem. Ray Jack is going to speak, we're going to ask him to speak in a few minutes, and he'll tell us where he's coming from and what he's been able to acquaint himself with the three other engineers that are responsible for the progress in the line. But until we have that as a line action committee or team, whatever you want to call it, we can't answer all your individual questions.
It's a pretty exciting time. I mean, I think that the team that's being put together is going to be a great team, working through this whole system. It's a very complex system, and there's a complex group of people now who are going to be following through with it. So there will be then the rewriting of it, a chance for discussion of the components of it, and then finally reviewing and putting it to bed.
Yes.
Okay.
I had some documents, Susan just made them up for me. It gives you the background on our gentleman that's been hired.
Here they are.
Oh, you have them all, okay. This is Michael's.
Oh, we have that.
Scipione.
Yeah.
I didn't send it to you, did I?
I gave,
Oh, you gave it out already. All right.
Yeah.
So this is, Mike's not here, but I think that we can proceed to let Ray speak and see what he's come up with in his contact with all of the engineers to date and where they stand on getting together on things. Ray, would you mind giving us a summary of what you've been doing?
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Okay, the project was stalled for a period of time, but a lot came together very quickly. And as of yesterday, the 22nd, Contract 1, which is the Water Resource Recovery Facility, otherwise known as the plant, went to advertisement on the Central Register for the state for all the contractors to see, and the plans will be available for them on Monday, the 27th. Contract 1 involves really two components. You have the GC, which is the general contractor, and then you have the filed subbids. So back in November and December, there was a formalized process whereby under Chapter 149, it's required that for a building project like this, that you have to qualify the contractors and subbidders, okay? So that pre-qualification process was completed. It results in a list of qualified general contractors and qualified subcontractors. Hence, now that it's being advertised, individual letters will go out to each of those that was pre-qualified, advising them of the bid process, letting them know what the bid dates are when the documents will be available. So for the present time, and like I said, I'm just talking about Contract 1 now, which is the plant, because it's a little bit different than the other ones. The advertisement for Central Register went in yesterday, and plans are going to be available on the 27th. The bid opening for the general contractor is August 11th. The big bid opening for the subs is July 28th. You notice there's at least a 2-week lag there, and there's a reason for that. Once the filed sub-bids are open and reviewed and evaluated, then their list is submitted to the GC, general contractor, and they can pick their subs on that project. So that's really a key point. There are certain subs that they may be more or less comfortable with as a process. And then once that GC bid is complete on August 11, then the hope is to be able to have contracts in place prior to our submittal deadline with the state of September 30th. So that's where we are with that one. The other two contracts, Contract 1 and Contract 2 and Contract 3, Contract 2 is the collection system north, and Contract 3 is the collection system south. Contract 2 is a bit smaller, money-wise, as well as size-wise. And Contract 3 contains 3 lift stations as part of that. Because it's further south, so it needs to be able to move wastewater by virtue of a lift station. So those contracts are going to be going out for advertisement on the Central Register on the 29th, which is going to be next Wednesday. And the plans are going to be available July 5th. Bid openings, one's going to be on the 4th, August 4th, and the other one's going to, for Contract 2. Contract 3 will be August 9th. And that's going to be anticipating that we'll be able to have final contract documents, fully executed documents by September 30th. And those are horizontal construction projects, so they don't require the filed sub-bid process. So from a bidding perspective, there's a little bit less effort there. As far as money goes, $54 million is the target appropriation for the project. Overall, we have 3 engineering firms involved. Weston and Sampson serves as the owner's project manager, under a separate contract. They're there for Contract 1, which is going to be the recovery facility itself. And that, too, is a state requirement. GHD is the engineering firm of record with respect to design of Contract 1, as well as Contract 2 and 3, but they'll be facilitating the construction oversight for Contract 1. Environmental Partners will be facilitating contract oversight for Contracts 2 and 3 when they're awarded. So there's 3 firms involved. I can speak to all 3 because I am familiar with them. I've worked with them in the past, and some more than others, but they play well together. They're good firms, okay? They're very qualified, very competent, and they're going to work in the best interest of the town. That I do know. We'll have more information, obviously, once the bids come in, okay? That's going to be rather telling. I expect a fair amount of competition on the project, but at the same time, I would have to express at least some level of concern, okay, with 2 issues, one being inflation, and the second being supply chain issues. All right, supply chain issues have unfortunately become very, very difficult. And when it does happen, it can impact a project. So theoretically, if a particular pump doesn't come in, either the GC or a subcontractor may not be able to alternate to something else in the meantime. That may be a critical phase component, okay? So going to be paying close attention to any cost escalators as well as supply chain issues. I would speak briefly on the document that you're reviewing and looking, for a final approval on with respect to the sewer regulations. I've gone over them in detail, and I can say for you that I feel it's a very comprehensive document. These are industry standards that they've incorporated in that document. I think it is going to be very valuable because it is rather comprehensive for a system to have those documents in place. It covers the who, why, the where, the how, and even the means and methods, if you will. So from a major construction perspective for expanding a system, at the higher contract level, right down to an individual service level. It is very comprehensive, and I think it will serve you well. So, yes.
While you're right in the middle of that subject, Wayne just came back in. I wanted to make sure that Wayne was aware of the fact that you just gave out what we see as the document schedule, the approvals, the mailing of contracts, all of that. Until it's done, it doesn't make sense to talk about it and publish it and tell all of the people. Wait till it's done, until Wayne releases it or someone from the actual office as a document. Then things are done, and we don't get this backlash that you said it was gonna. When it's done, we should tell everybody, and it should come out of, I guess, Wayne or Rodney's office. I'm sure that we're going to have all sorts of things. When you have large contracts, lots of details get pushed to the side or delayed a week or pushed forward. And this is a question of engineering, that someone says to you, when was it final, the drawing for the final building? It's never final if it's engineering. You're always trying to do better. And the documents, the timing, and all of that become part of a big package, and we don't want any more politics to disrupt this thing. So when these documents are just to confirm they're in process is what people need to know and want to know, and they have a right to know. But the absolute document timing shouldn't be discussed until it's happened. You're anxious to say something, go for
No,
it.
no, I'm waiting.
Oh,
I'm
okay, I
waiting.
saw
Oh,
you.
no. You-
I thought you were cooking.
Well, as of right now, it's public knowledge because it's posted on the board outside,
Well, once
That's
those things
mandatory.
are up, it's a document.
okay?
Yeah.
And that's no complaints. So, any questions?
I'll let the young lady go first.
Yes, I do have a question for you. The level of detail in the regulations is quite extraordinary. And this was written by Chatham several years ago. So my question to you is, for example, in the level of detail about the material that the pipes are made of and the material that the joints are made of, that changes a bit over time, doesn't it? So that the level of detail is going to be changing throughout this document, or no?
And it's very, very possible that for, various materials, it could change. But from an industry perspective, it doesn't usually change. I mean, and especially with things like piping and
The
fittings.
specification won't change. What will happen is a new material will meet that specification,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So the specification, pressure, or malleability, or whatever it was written for, won't change. You have to meet that requirement, but you might be able to use plastic instead of steel.
Okay.
But it would meet the specification, and that's the nature of specifications.
Okay. That answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, glad you're aboard.
No, thank you. Glad to be here.
You'll be using the office in the planning
Yes,
area?
yes.
Do you know your extension number yet?
8550.
Okay, thank you. I never have to call myself, so I don't even remember my own phone number, believe it or not. I have to
Okay.
look it up.
I just have one question. You had a chance to review this.
Yes.
When do you think we have to have this signed off and agreed to by everybody?
As soon as possible, and I say that not to be facetious with it, but with contracts coming up and work about to begin, you're going to have a lot of major construction contractors as well as smaller construction contractors are going to be vying for everything from the municipal level work to the residential service work. And they need guidance in order to properly be able to give estimates on jobs. They need to know what they're going to have to do, how they're going to have to do them, what they have to use. So the sooner the better. That means, at least in my mind, I might suggest definitely before the end of the year. But I think sooner is better than later. Because it's a well-written document. I don't see much in the way of
It also
revision.
includes schedules that people will be looking for information of. Like how long, once it goes down my street, am I gonna have to hook up?
It'll be a while, but a smart contractor will solicit, okay? Once they're aware of where the areas are and what, because even for a licensed utility installer, which is the LUI that they refer to in there, it benefits them if they have more customers in a geographic area, specifically that they can work almost like, a cookie cutter fashion, and get a lower unit price on something like that. And that is what I always recommend anyway on large-scale contracts in the collection system, is that it is in the best interest of the residents to try to do that. If every single resident went out and fished on their own, the unit cost is higher. If they can get together with their neighbors, they may be able to get an economy of scale.
have a couple more questions for you. I know you're just here, you just started, so.
1 week.
So, yeah, less than a week, really. So there was supposed to be a study being done. There was a warrant that was voted on at the town meeting about whether or not the capacity for the plant will handle further direction. And do you think we're ready for that yet? Or do we have a timetable for when that study was to be done?
That's something that I would have to look into.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was one other question. Last March, there was to be an aerial study of all of the land to guide the engineering firms in order for them to know where they're going, and the aerials were being organized by the town engineer, and I don't know, were those done? And do we need them? Those are my two questions with that.
I haven't seen anything to indicate that they're completed, so I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Do you think that they're needed?
I'm sorry?
Do you think they're needed?
Oh, aerials are always nice. I mean, they have multiple functions today, and especially with LiDAR. That can go a long way for planning purposes.
I don't believe this was LiDAR, it was strictly for elevation. And I wasn't too sure about that myself, whether it was a necessity. I was interested in your opinion, whether
Yeah.
it's generally a necessity or not.
It is very beneficial, especially from an environmental perspective. Much of what your commission does is really based on that. So I know I've always relied heavily on, flyovers and things like that for planning.
Any other questions? How about some of the new members? Got any questions? We may not get them back here for another, week or two.
We're both fairly new, so maybe that next week or two will be the ideal opportunity
Yeah.
to field some new questions.
All right, do we have anything from the select board? Not curious at all? I never saw you without a question. Don't.
I'm patient.
Yeah, we know that.
Don't want to scare them away in the first week.
It looks like we haven't, so he's in good shape.
I have a cup of coffee here, so I'm good.
Any other new business?
I have one piece. I've gotten some I've been contacted by Mike Rapaz, who is fielding many different questions, either by phone or by email, and would like something done so that he's not the contact person for people inquiring about issues that have to do with the sewer commission.
He should tell people that.
He told me.
I'll make a note. Can I hear a motion, or do I hear a motion?
The motion is to adjourn, is that what I'm hearing?
I haven't got anybody else, got anything to say?
Second the motion.
Hearing none, I so move.
Made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous.